When it comes to the WNBA, some fans aren't too thrilled with the league and the attitude of its players. Many of these players blame men and NBA players for the lack of success in women's basketball. A popular narrative is that men don't support or tune into women's sports. Last night, however, that notion was completely debunked. A women's college basketball game between Iowa and LSU, featuring the star Caitlin Clark, drew massive viewership numbers. This game demonstrated that people are definitely interested in women's basketball when there are compelling stories and exciting matchups. It's time for the WNBA to take notes from this and leverage the potential of their star players to draw in more fans and grow the league. So, now let's get real for a second. WNBA players have been pretty vocal about their frustrations. They're out there, working their butts off, showing insane talent, but still getting less support and lower viewership compared to their male counterparts. Imagine putting in all that hard work and dedication and not getting the recognition you deserve. It's like baking the world's best cake and nobody shows up to eat it. The main gripes? Lower salaries, minimal media coverage, and barely any butts in the seats during games. The NBA gets all the glitz and glam, while the WNBA often feels like the overlooked little sister. Some of the top WNBA players, like Liz Cambage and Skylar Diggins-Smith, aren't shy about pointing fingers. They've called out men in the NBA for not giving the WNBA the support it needs. They say the NBA, with all its money and influence, could do a lot more to boost the WNBA. Sue Bird, one of the greats, even mentioned how the NBA's marketing machine doesn't put nearly as much effort into promoting the WNBA. It's like they're using a flashlight when they should be using a spotlight. Her teammate, Breanna Stewart, echoed these thoughts, stressing the need for better promotion to bring in more fans. There's also this narrative that men just don't support women's basketball enough. Players and fans argue that cultural biases and gender stereotypes lead to a lack of interest from male sports fans, who make up a big chunk of the overall sports audience. Stats show that women's sports viewership is generally lower than men's, not because the women's games are any less thrilling, but because of these entrenched attitudes that undervalue women's achievements. Basically, if more men watched and supported the WNBA, it could blow up just like the NBA. Enter Caitlin Clark. She's like a superhero for women's basketball. Over 7 million people tuned in to watch her and Angel Reese in a college game. That's a lot of eyeballs. This shows that people are definitely interested in women's basketball when there are exciting storylines and standout talents. Caitlin's got the skills, the charisma, and the media attention to prove that high viewership isn't just a pipe dream. If the WNBA can find and promote more stars like her, they could totally win over the public. It all boils down to having the right stars and stories. With the right approach, the WNBA could finally overcome its struggles and shine just as bright as the NBA. Moreover, let me tell you about the game that shook the world of women's college basketball on April 2nd, 2023. Iowa versus LSU. This wasn't just any game, it was the showdown of the century. Imagine Caitlin Clark, the queen of long-range shooting and dazzling passes, going head-to-head with Angel Reese, the powerhouse in the paint. It was like watching a basketball version of a superhero movie. Clark's three-pointers were nothing short of magic, while Reese's fierce defense and aggressive play kept everyone on the edge of their seats. In the end, LSU took the win, but both players left a mark that will be talked about for ages. Now, get this. Over 7 million people tuned in to watch this epic battle. That's right, 7 million. To put it in perspective, the WNBA finals between the Las Vegas Aces and the Connecticut Sun barely pulled in 500,000 viewers per game. It's like comparing a blockbuster movie to a quiet indie film. This massive viewership highlights a big issue for the WNBA. How come a college game can attract so many more eyeballs than the professional league? Several reasons explain why the Iowa versus LSU game was such a hit. First off, you've got star power. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese are like the Steph Curry and Pistol Pete Maravich of women's college basketball. Clark's insane shooting range and flashy play style are jaw-dropping, while Reese's rebounding and scoring abilities make her a formidable opponent. Add in the rivalry between these two stars, and you've got a recipe for must-watch TV. The WNBA has a bit of a visibility problem. Ever heard of the Connecticut Sun or the Dallas Wings? No? You're not alone. Despite having some seriously talented players, these teams are pretty much flying under the radar. The Connecticut Sun, rocking it since 2003, is like that amazing band only true fans know about. And the Dallas Wings, who rebranded from the Tulsa Shock in 2016, are still struggling to get a solid fan base or decent media coverage. It's like they're at the party, but nobody's noticing them. Now, let's compare this with women's college basketball. Teams like Iowa, USC, South Carolina, and UConn are household names. UConn, under the legendary coach Gino Auriemma, has won 11 NCAA championships. That's like winning the lottery 11 times. And South Carolina, with coach Dawn Staley, is always in the championship mix. These programs have built strong identities and massive fan followings over the years. So, what's the secret sauce for these college teams? It's all about team identity and rivalries. In college sports, you've got these long-standing rivalries and storied histories that get fans all riled up. Think about the epic showdowns between UConn and Tennessee. Those games are must-watch TV. They draw huge crowds and media buzz because there's a rich backstory and intense competition. The WNBA, on the other hand, hasn't quite nailed this yet. The league is still relatively young, having started in 1996, and many of its teams have moved around or rebranded, making it tough for fans to build long-term loyalties. Plus, without a lot of mainstream media coverage, it's like these teams are playing in the shadows. So, what's the game plan? The WNBA needs to double down on building recognizable teams and rivalries. It's all about telling the stories of these teams, their histories, and their star players. Highlighting key matchups can create buzz. Think about promoting games between the Las Vegas Aces with Aja Wilson and the Phoenix Mercury with Brittany Griner. That's a recipe for excitement. Now, I'm pretty sure if you follow Catelyn, you are very much familiar with Ice Cube. Yes, the rapper turned basketball mogul just dropped a $5 million bombshell on May 1st, 2023, aimed right at Caitlin Clark. He's inviting her to join the Big Three Men's League, which is all about those intense 3-on-3 games. This offer is unheard of in women's basketball and really shows just how much star power Clark has. Ice Cube sees her as a game changer who can draw massive crowds and boost the profile of any league she touches, even one traditionally dominated by men. Now, the WNBA players had some feelings about this, and boy, were they mixed. On social media and in interviews, some players were ready to throw down, while others were a bit more diplomatic but still not thrilled. Aja Wilson from the Las Vegas Aces tweeted that the offer was disrespectful to the WNBA, saying it undermines all the hard work they've put in to grow the league. Meanwhile, Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury chimed in on May 3rd, 2023, suggesting that while Ice Cube might have had good intentions, his approach felt like a slap in the face to the WNBA's credibility. But let's be real here. Ice Cube's move isn't just about Caitlin Clark. It's about recognizing her massive potential and what she can bring to any basketball league. This kind of outside-the-box thinking and support could be a goldmine for the WNBA. Imagine the boost in visibility and revenue from collaborations and endorsements that go beyond the traditional women's basketball framework, just like the NBA partnering with esports leagues to create new fan bases and interest. The WNBA could really benefit from this crossover appeal. The way Caitlin Clark is valued outside the WNBA compared to the internal reactions is pretty stark. Outside, she's seen as a superstar who can bring in huge crowds, like the 7 million viewers who tuned in for the Iowa versus LSU game on April 2nd, 2023. Ice Cube's $5 million offer proves just how marketable she is. But inside the WNBA, there's this reluctance to fully embrace her potential, with some players showing signs of skepticism and even a bit of jealousy. Cheryl Swoops and others seem worried that Clark might steal the spotlight. For the WNBA to really thrive, it needs to navigate these internal politics and see the big picture. Embracing players like Caitlin Clark, with their star power and ability to draw fans, could lead to more sponsorships, higher TV ratings, and a bigger fan base. Instead of viewing Ice Cube's offer as a threat, the WNBA should see it as proof of the league's potential to engage and excite a wider audience. Moreover, the WNBA is at a pivotal moment, and it's time to step up the game. With emerging stars like Caitlin Clark lighting up the court and grabbing headlines, the league has a golden opportunity to grow its fan base and boost its profile. So, what's the game plan? Here are some strategic moves that could drive growth and sustainability for the WNBA. First off, the WNBA needs to embrace star players like Caitlin Clark and shout their stories from the rooftops. It's not just about their amazing skills on the court, it's about their personal journeys, the challenges they've overcome, and their triumphs. Think high-quality video content like documentaries and behind-the-scenes footage that really showcase their personalities. Remember how the NBA's 30 for 30 Inches series captivated audiences? That's the kind of emotional bond the WNBA should aim to create with its fans. Next up, let's talk about rivalries. The massive viewership for the Iowa versus LSU game, where Caitlin Clark went head-to-head with Angel Reese, proves that high-stakes matchups are a huge draw. The WNBA should scout out and nurture similar rivalries within the league. Schedule those marquee games and promote them like crazy with targeted marketing campaigns. And hey, make sure these games get primetime slots with major broadcasters. Nothing beats the thrill of a big game under the bright lights. When it comes to marketing, the WNBA needs to go bold and be innovative. Highlight the unique skills and flair of its players using social media, streaming platforms, and traditional media. How about teaming up with popular influencers and celebrities to spread the word? Use analytics to get a sense of what viewers love and tailor content to keep them hooked. Just like the NBA's killer social media game with those jaw-dropping buzzer beaters and epic assists, the WNBA can capture the public's imagination. On the business side, enhancing accessibility and fan experience is key. Think partnerships with tech companies to create cool experiences like virtual reality broadcasts and interactive apps. Imagine feeling like you're right there in the arena, even from your living room. Plus, exclusive player-themed merch and memorabilia can boost revenue and fan loyalty. And don't forget grassroots programs and local community events. They're essential for building a strong, dedicated fan base from the ground up. So, there you have it. With these strategies, the WNBA can harness the star power of players like Caitlin Clark and take women's basketball to new heights. Do you have any ideas to share about all these things? Share them in the comments below and do like the video if you like Caitlin Clark.